I'd like to take you on a ride through the pages of my 55-year career in the hot rod and custom car world. I started my first shop, Star Custom Shop, in 1954 in Wichita, Kansas. My early cars reflected a style that patterned my direction and styling. In 1957, I had my first big break when Spencer Murray was touring with Rod & Custom Dream Truck and attended a small show in Manhattan, Kansas, on his trip to Ohio to have Metz install the fins on the Dream Truck. While he was there, he photographed my 47 CAD as well as the 55 Plymouth I had on display at the show, and later featured them in Rod & Custom magazine in 1957, being my first cars to receive national recognition. Then in 1959, Hot Rod magazine featured my 59 Buick and 55 Plymouth on the cover. A great achievement, being the Bible in the industry, and very few custom cars appeared on their cover until today even. My next big break was late 1959 in Detroit at the NHRA National Car Show, held in conjunction with the National Drag Races. I built a 57 T-Bird for Bob Turgeon, called it a Pearl, the first full-size car with a chrome undercarriage and extensive custom restyling. I left Detroit with the National Sweepstakes champion, as well as the top custom shop of the year awarded by Carcraft magazine. I left that show and went back to my shop and started building the wildest, most creative vehicle I have ever built. I named it the Predicta, the first bubble-top car in the custom car world. I built the car in 4 months and debuted it in 1960 at the Grand National Roadster Show in Oakland, California. It received a National Sweepstakes award. It was then featured on the cover of Carcraft magazine, and Motor Life magazine chose it as the top custom car of 1960, and later Rod & Custom magazine named it the top 10 custom in 1960. And it has been featured in more magazines than any other vehicle in the hot rod and custom car world, with the only exception being the Rod & Custom Dream Truck in the past 50 years. Monogram Model Company made a 1/24 scale model of the car and released in 1961. It has been re-released almost every Christmas since. Total sales of over 500,000 worldwide in the past 54 years. Speaking of models, from 1961 to 1967, Monogram released 13 of my creations in model car form, many scaled directly from the original full-size car they contracted me to build. I also did drawings, restyling different vehicles, and then Monogram released them in model form from drawings. In 1961, I built my dream shop and changed the name to Starbird Custom Car Creations. Many more outstanding creations rolled out of this modern facility. In 1967, the Detroit muscle car took a toll on the hot rod and custom car world, and especially on the shops building cars. At this point, I closed my big shop and concentrated on my car shows and building only feature cars in a smaller shop for my shows. Going back to 1957, I produced my first Rod & Custom car show in Wichita, Kansas, mainly to show and educate the general public on what hot rodding and custom cars were all about. At this point, most activity in the sport had taken place on the West Coast. I went on to do Oklahoma City and Kansas City the same year, and over the years I expanded my show business into over 13 cities, mainly in mid-America. Later expanding, including San Francisco, California, Cow Palace, and the Grand National Roadster Show in the Coliseum, which Harold Bagdasarian and I produced for over 18 years. My last show was 2 weeks ago in Tulsa, Oklahoma, my 45th annual with over 1,000 cars in competition. And of course it is the home of the Go for the Gold Fine 9 Award, $20,000, the largest cash purse to one car in the industry. This year won by Scott Whitaker with his Marauder, a 50 Mercury, designed by Larry Erickson and built by Larry Kramer. Believe it or not, this was the 438th show I have personally promoted across the country in the past 53 years. Since the custom car crash, so to speak, in 1967, many shops closed, even Balon, Winfield, Cushenberry, A Brothers, and many more. I never closed, but went on to build another 50-plus feature cars for my shows, which have toured worldwide. I have a new book out called The Bubble Top King, documenting over 150 one-of-a-kind cars I have created over the years as well as the rest of the story of my 55-year career. 16 In the 1980s, hot rodding and customizing got a shot in the arm with the release of American Graffiti Movie and of course the start of the National Street Rod Association and Custom Kemps of America Association. These organizations helped revive the interest in the hot rod world, and it has mushroomed into the great sport we enjoy today.
10, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, rock, we're going to rock.
Hey, what's wrong? Are you crying?
I can't believe it. I don't know what to say. I'll love and protect this car until death do us part. This is a super fine machine. This might even be better than Darryl Starbird's Superflex Moon. It is. It's better than Darryl Starbird's Superflex Moonbird.
When American Graffiti Movie came out, George Lucas mentioned my name in the movie, and at the time I thought it was no big deal, being a low-budget film about kids and their cars. But as we all know, it has become the classic movie in our industry and sport. Not to mention George Lucas's great success. I have had such a great ride in my career, showing cars in almost every state in the United States, Canada, Hawaii, and even went to Europe in 1986 with 6 of my vehicles, toured over 20 major cities in Europe. One of the biggest highlights of my trip was the Geneva, Switzerland annual new car show, the most famous in the world. They featured my 6 cars in the lobby of the entrance of the show, the first time ever featuring these type vehicles. I was invited to the President of Switzerland's annual World Car Designers Only breakfast, and I was honored by the President himself. In 1995, my career had another milestone. I created the Darryl Starbird National Rod and Custom Car Hall of Fame Museum in Oklahoma. It houses over 50 rods and customs of all types of designs, including 25 of my creations. The Hall of Fame for over 14 years now has been recognized as the Hall of Fame in the industry. When we opened, we inducted 13 charter members into the Hall of Fame. Each year, we have annual induction ceremonies, inducting 2 new members. We now have inducted a total of 62 members. This year, it is May 16th at the museum, which includes the annual car show on the 80 acres manicured grounds the museum rests on. The ceremony includes inducting a custom car builder, a street rod builder, owner builder year and designer, and lifetime achievement award. Another facet of my career was photographing and freelance writing. I have photographed many national car magazines covers and wrote and photographed my feature articles in these magazines. I also did nearly 100 do-it-yourself articles in dozens of different magazines, including Hot Rod, Carcraft, Rod and Custom, Street Rodder, Custom Rodder, as well as a dozen of the East Coast small publications. The greatest satisfaction in all of this effort came a couple years ago when my grandson, Bryce Bledsoe, and I produced and published my book, Darryl Starbird, the Bubble Top King. Over 225 pages of color featuring over 150 of my creations, and telling my life history in detail from the beginning up to what I have done today. Be sure and pick up one of my books. I promise you will enjoy it. Available here at the show or on darrylstarbird.com on the web. Another real highlight of my career was when Jesse James called me and invited me to be on his Monster Garage television show. The design included myself, Jesse, Billy Gibbons, and Dennis McPhail, and the build team included myself, Frank DeRosa Sr. and Jr., Bill Hines, and others. We successfully customized a 51 CAD Roadster in the time allotted. A few weeks later, I was invited back to do the 2-hour finale show and the demise of the Monster Garage show. This effort was a 54 Ford station wagon. My design and build team included Gene Winfield. These 2 TV shows were certainly an experience, and working with Jesse James was a real pleasure. Today I still enjoy building cars. In fact, I have a shop right on the museum grounds where I have the opportunity to build my latest creations. I do cars only for myself and of course to put in the museum, and of course I restore cars for the museum. But I don't do any customer work, so it gives me a lot of freedom and a lot of time to be very creative. I hope I can continue to do this for a lot of years to come, and right now I'm working on a couple new creations that I will debut next season in the car show season. Again, thank you for the great ride.